Hi, we're going to be going through the pre-algebra test number 5 so that you can see what you might have missed. So right here, the first thing we're going to do is talk about, are these a function or not? Remember, if it is a function, every input has one and only one output. So when I look right here, number 1 has an output of 5 and an output of 6, so that would not be a function. If I look at this next one right here, I could do the vertical line test on this one. That one would be a function. If I go down here and do the vertical line test, we would find that it is not a function. Right here, every input has one and only one output, so yes, that one would be a function. On to question number 2. This is just asking, is it linear or not? Right here, it is a straight line, so yes, it's linear. Right here, it's not a straight line. It's not linear. Right here, yes, it is a straight line. That would be linear. Question number 3. When we look at this one, we want to know, select the two functions whose graphs include this point. The best way to do it is to type each equation one at a time into your graphing calculator and find out, do they go through the point 16, 4? Remember, 16 would be your x value, 4 would be your y value. The other thing you could do is substitute 16 into the x of the equation and substitute 4 in for the y. Are they equal? And if they are, then yes, it would include that point on the graph. This one, we're looking at the graph and we want to select the two correct statements. So we're looking down here at the bottom and it wants to let us know. So this says time is a function of temperature. Well, if I took this graph, right now its temperature is a function of time. If I took this graph and flip these, then my line's going to flip and I'm basically going to be doing my vertical line test this way instead. And no, that would not be correct. So when we look at this, no, that is not. In this graph, temperature is a function of time. Time is not a function of temperature. This one, B, says the lowest temperature occurred between 4 and 5 p.m. The lowest temperature was right here, so it was between 11 and 12. That is not correct. The temperature was increasing between 9 and 10. Between 9 and 10 would be right here and right here. The temperature was actually decreasing. That one would not be true. It says the temperature was 74 degrees twice during the day. Here's 75 right here, so 74 would be right below it. So it here and here. Yes, that was the temperature. There was a 4-hour period during which the temperature did not change. Yes, we have a 4-hour period right here where the temperature did not change, so that would be correct as well. All right, question number 5. This one says a cylinder has a volume of 78 centimeters. So remember our equation, V or volume. And to find it in a cone, it is 1/3 times pi r squared times height. Well, this part right here is the volume of the cylinder, which is 78. We already have that. So all we're basically doing is taking that amount times 1/3. And we talked about how if we multiply something times 1/3, it is the same as dividing by 3. So all we're really doing here is taking 78 and dividing it by 3. And when we do that, we get the correct answer of 26 centimeters cubed. Remember, that's because if we took this cone and poured it in here, it would take 3 of them to fill that up. All right, on to question number 6 right here. The table shows the linear relationship between the amount of water in the tank. So it's telling me it is linear. All right, so you notice these numbers are increasing. As our time increases, our gallons of water is decreasing. So we can automatically mark these off because the water in the tank is not increasing. So we're looking at these two options down here. We want to know how much it's decreasing. When we're doing this, remember in a table, we're doing the change in y divided by the change in x. So the change in y, we're looking right here. We have 20 minus 30 over the change in x. 5 minus 0. That's going to give us negative 10 over 5. We divide that and get negative 2. So it was decreasing at 2 gallons per minute, which would be C right here. All right. Question number 7. Elena goes for a long walk. The graph shows her time and distance traveled throughout the walk. So what we're looking at, we want to know when is her fastest speed. Well, her fastest speed would be right here. So how do we find the speed? Or the speed would be the rate of change or the slope. Same thing. Rise over run. Change in y over change in x. We went from 3 to 5, so we went up 2. We went from 1.5 to 2, so we went over 0.5. Change in y over change in x, or rise over run, that would give me 4. So what was her fastest speed in miles per hour? It was 4. Okay, question number 8. Cylinder has a radius of 2.3. What is the area of the base of the cylinder? The area of the base is pi times radius squared. You're just finding the area of the circle. We know our radius is 2.3, and it's telling us use 3.14 for pi. So we're going to take 3.14, and we're going to take it times 2.3 squared. When we put all of that in our calculator, we are going to get, hold on, we are going to get an answer of 16.6 when we round it to the nearest tenth. So now we know that this part is 16.6, and that is the area of the base, and we need to find the height of the cylinder. So remember, we have to take the area of the base, pi times r squared, which we have and we know is 16.6. We have to take that times the height, and we get the volume. So since we know the whole and we know a part, we have to divide. So what are we going to have to do? We know the volume is 95. So we're going to take our 95 and we're going to divide it by 16.6. When we do that, we're going to get a height of 5.7. All right, question number 9. On this one, Lynn counts 5 bacteria under the microscope, and she counts then again each day for 4 days. What we're going to want to do on this one is make a table. It says that it's going up every day, or it's doubling every day. This is my days, this is my bacteria. On day 1, there's 5. On day 2, there's 10. On day 3, there's 20. On day 4, there's 40. First thing we want to know, is the population a function of the number of days? Is it a function? Yes. If you look here, every input has one and only one output. So yes, that is a function. But then it wants to know, is it linear? Is it linear is another question. Again, we have to look what's happening. Here, you'll notice it's changing every time by 1. If I look here, it went up 5. If I look here, it went up 10. If I look here, it went up 20. Okay? Difference of the y divided by the difference of the x. 5 divided by 1 is 5. 10 divided by 1 is 10. Did it have a constant rate of change? No, it did not. So is this function linear? No, it did not have a constant rate of change. All right, the next question. 2 plumbing companies are charging for their work. One is in an equation. We talked about every time we look at these, we're going to find one of 2 things. We have to find m, the slope, and b, the y-intercept or the starting point. My slope is right here in the equation. It is 60. If I look right here, my one-time starting fee is 80. Over here, I need to find the same thing. What does m equal and what does b equal? B is easy. Where is it crossing the y-axis? It's crossing at 150. Then we have to find the rate of change. Let's go from here to here. You'll notice it started at 200 and it went up to 250. So what was my rise? It was 50. So we're doing rise over run, or change of y over change of x. How much did it go over? It went from here to here and then from here to here. So it went from 1 to 2. It went over 1. 50 divided by 1, rise over run would be 50. Down here, it's asking me, what is it per hour? Per hour is always my rate of change or my slope. That would be 60. Right here, one-time fee. My starting point is my one-time fee. That would be 80. Down here, per for each hour of work. My rate of change, 50. One-time fee. They charged $150 for me to show up. The other thing it asks on this is, will they ever charge the same total? I can put these two in as equations into my graphing calculator, and I can find out that yes, they absolutely would. All right, this one, we need to find the volume of a comb. So V volume equals 1/3 pi r squared times your height. We know these numbers. All we're going to do is plug them into our calculator. So I'm going to write this as a fraction. I'm going to put in pi, 3.14, times my radius. My radius is right here, 6 squared, times my height. My height is right here, 15. And all that is divided by 3. Dividing it by 3 is the same as taking it times 1/3. And when we do that, we get an answer of 565.5. So we're literally putting the numbers into the equation. Last problem, we're finding the volume of a sphere. Again, you're just looking at your equation. V, your volume, is pi times the radius cubed. Right here, we know 72 goes all the way across, which means it's the diameter. Remember, my radius goes halfway across. That means my radius is 36. It's telling me use 3.14 for pi, so I'm going to come over here, 3.14, and I need to take it times my radius of 36 cubed. Whoops, I forgot something in this equation. I apologize. Times 4/3. So I'm going to take this times 4, and then what's in the denominator? 3. When I multiply all that out, I'm going to come up with 195,333 and 12/100ths cubic centimeters. That's what I'm going to have for my answer. Again, you're literally taking your equation for volume of a sphere and you're plugging it in. I hope this helps. Good luck on the retake.